You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. This is Clark from 5cardguys.com and 5cardguys on Instagram. With me co-hosting, as usual, is John, who is Trade You at Recess on Instagram. But Hyung is unfortunately still away for a personal matter, but we look forward to having him join us again in the new year. But we do have a special guest host today to end off 2023, and we couldn't think of a better person to ask. He's definitely no stranger to the pod. His name's Will. Our fourth podcast co-host is back with us for the next couple of episodes. How's it going, Will?
Hello, everyone. Happy holidays. I'm looking forward to today. I'm looking forward to the end of 2023 and a revitalized 2024 in the hobby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can all agree on that. All right. So, like I said, this Friday episode is the last of 2023. So, we'll have a time of quick reflection in just a moment. But first, if you've been listening to the past couple of episodes, you'll know that John and I did a pick one, which we thought we recorded, but due to technical difficulties, it didn't actually get recorded. Then we said we tried again for this past Tuesday's episode, but I made an executive decision to instead play a recap episode of 2023 with some of our funnier clips from the show. But today, we're actually going to redo the pick one off the top, and it works out because we have Will who can also chime in as well. So, John, do you want to set it up again for us? Yeah.
Let's do it. All right, 1v1 from feels like weeks ago now. It's we're going to go Tom Brady Bowman first gold refractor with the inscription. If baseball doesn't work out, there's always football. Mm-hmm. Versus the Tom Brady Bowman first superfractor auto. And we're going to exclude the bounty. So don't think about, imagine the bounty is not included.
Which is the $500,000 bounty.
Yes.
It's not a factor in this.
Yes.
Okay.
1v1.
Okay. All right. Well, you say you had some thoughts. You want to start with yours?
Well, I gotta say, I watched that commercial after you guys talked about it on the pod.
The Tom Brady alternate reality commercial.
Yeah. Right. It was really cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see like Vladdy Sr., Larry Walker, and Pedro, and it just kind of made me nostalgic for the 90s baseball and like just like Montreal that lockout year. They were first. Mm-hmm. They were a good team, and I mean, I don't think Tom Brady would have ever been an actual MLB player, right? Like we don't actually think he would have been good. But it's just fun to kind of imagine. So I thought that commercial was really cool. Should I pick mine? Should I just go ahead? Okay, so I want to say though, I saw the out of 25 orange inscription, and that one he writes Allons. I feel like it's supposed to be Allons-y Expos. I don't know. I did grade 5 French and I stopped. So. But I thought that one was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I think if I had a choice between the three, I would pick the orange out of 25, just because I think that inscription's the coolest. And then between the super and the 12 out of 50 gold, I actually think I would pick the gold one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I really like inscription autos, and the rarity is actually baked in. It's not even like a fake rarity. It's actually just like it's gonna be the only one. It's not like he inscribed all the other ones.
Right.
I don't like the fake rarity of like, oh, it's the number, right? Like I don't really care about that. But the fact that he inscribed one of the cards with a special message, I love that. So I think for me it was very easy. Like I was like, I'm gonna pick that gold 12 out of 50 because I love the inscription. If I could choose the 12 out of 25 orange, I would pick that one first.
Okay. I think when we first debated it, we did mention that there are only 2 cards with inscriptions, and you mentioned the orange, which was the one in French, and then the gold, which
wait. Before we continue, can I admit something to you guys?
Sure.
So after I saw the gold one and the orange one, I was like, oh shoot, what does the red inscription say? And I'm searching, and and I realized, oh, he only signed the number 12. So
Right.
I was looking for
looking
for a 12 out of 5 red inscription auto that doesn't exist, and I felt so dumb. I felt so stupid.
I didn't even realize he signed 12 out of 25. That makes sense, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? You shouldn't feel stupid because that, you know, once you mentioned that, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. I just assumed that he just chose 2 cards to inscribe.
Well, that's why I'm the 4th co-host on this podcast. we're all right at the same level.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Okay, I'll go next. Honestly, John, I can't remember what I chose last time. I'm trying to remember. I'm like,
I think he went Superfractor.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think I went Superfractor too. But then as Will was talking, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, the gold inscribed, you know, using the number 12. That's a nice touch. Cool as well.
I like that.
Right? Yeah. So I'm like thinking about it like over the last week and a half now. I think I'm gonna flip. I think I'm gonna go for the gold as well.
Nice.
Yeah. So, you know, I for all those reasons Will mentioned and the inscription. I actually like the gold one better than the orange. To tell you the truth, I think it's just funnier and you know, it will be a cool card to have. So yeah, I changed my mind. There you go.
Nice.
I'm going for the gold inscribed over the super.
I like it. I like it because obviously I'm about to say my answer, but I'm also on the gold train.
Oh wow!
And I think this is a great. I think this is a good 50-50 kind of question. Perfect for your poll when this episode comes out.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of hobby logic for both because a hobby loves inscription, especially rare inscriptions, and the hobby loves superfractors. I mean, that's an iconic parallel at this point. The one of one, right? So I think for most we'll find out with the poll, but I think most the superfractor seems like the easy answer. But this whole Tom Brady thing is a really cool marketing thing more than anything. It's not necessarily a real Bowman first. It's completely a marketing ploy, which is a lot of fun. And I think for collectors in the future, because the whole point of the one we won is, you know, I actually forgot to mention off the top, but the purpose of it is like not just personal collection, but as an investment, which one would you kind of go forward with, right? And I think, to be honest, if somebody, again, completely hypothetical, we're not really talking about somebody would have the ability to choose one of these between the two. But if we were to imagine that, I personally think the gold could do better than the superfractor in the future because this is a marketing thing. And I think when I look back on it, I feel like the rest of the parallels and even the superfractor might lose a bit of its luster in the future. Because we're not talking Wenby, Holy Grail 1v1, Juan Soto 1 of one or Juan Soto superfractor 1. We're not talking anything like that. We're talking like a marketing play, right? So I think when you go back on it, people are going to remember what the whole purpose of this was. And it's Tom Brady, Expos uniform. Baseball doesn't work out. There's always football. I think that's the whole purpose behind this entire thing. So I think that is the card. That is the card to go for. That is the one I think is going to be worth the most. Sorry, Will. It's not going to be the orange Expos. I think that is a Canadian bias because Americans are going to be like, I don't want to see it. That's like the dumbest thing ever. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that definitely a Canadian bias in play, which, you know, I love the orange as well for that reason. But yeah, looks like a gold sweep, and definitely we'll set up a poll probably on the 5Card Guys Instagram account when this episode comes out to see what you guys think, whether you go for the gold inscribed or the superfractor. I think it's going to be pretty close, 50-50.
Right. I'm surprised. Guess. I thought I was like on a ledge. I thought I was on Crazy Island by myself.
Maybe it's just the three of us that are on the crazy island. We'll find out.
It's gonna be 95% superfractor. These three idiots.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see soon enough. All right. So for our discussion today, since this episode will be the final one of 2023, I wanted to ask each of you what was one of the more memorable hobby moments this past year, and it could be any news in the hobby that stood out for you. And then, how about sharing a more personal hobby moment in 2023? For example, did you have a favorite pickup of the year, or a cool experience at a local show, or maybe an awesome trade that you made? All right. So, who wants to go first and lead the discussion today?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I was trying, when we're thinking of memorable hobby news, I think if we're being truthful, most of the immediate thoughts are all something negative.
It's all
course. So I'm like racking my brain even till now, I'm like trying to think of something positive.
Right.
The Mickey mantle that was discovered and graded at SGC 9.5. Following that storyline was a great memory for me. I want to pick that one, but I'm not sure if that happened this year. Am I imagining that was that a 2022 thing?
I feel like it wasn't this year.
It wasn't this year? Okay. If that's the case, I have no positive memories.
Nothing happened in 2023.
It was a rough year, boys.
You know what? I will say of all the mistakes and bad news, I think the taco factor is the most memorable, because out of that fiasco, I think there's going to be a lot of ideas that come out of it. We've already shared a bunch of possible new great ideas, utility, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the taco fractor, there's tons of silver lining in the way that was executed. So I think that's the most worthy of my most memorable.
Okay. Yeah. And just to go back to your Mickey Mantle SGC 9.5, I just looked it up. That was in the fall of 2022.
So yes, just missed out.
Just missed the 2023 cutoff.
Times were great in 2022.
Times were amazing in 2021.
Oh man,
remember the good old days?
Yeah.
All right. Well, any hobby news that kind of stuck out for you that defined 2023 for you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Fanatics takeover. That's pretty big news,
right?
And I'm a little weary of one card company kind of monopolizing the whole market, and it de-incentivizes them to become better. But at the same time, most of these card companies were so trash for so long that having a company like Fanatics that is a little bit more passionate, a little bit more, I don't know, has a little bit more reach, a little bit more power. It seems like they're doing really good things. So I would say that's maybe like the one positive out of 2023. Mm-hmm. And for me, my like the biggest negative, or like the thing that stuck out the most negatively, was the whole Beckett grading fiasco. I just think, like, I just don't understand how there can be that much ineptitude at a company. Like, how they could be that wrong, like, altogether, like, to the point that they're at a trade show, they're getting like their tools. Like, they probably didn't have any power tools. They had to go to like a Home Depot or a Lowe's, and they sent the intern. They're like, "Go get a power drill. We gotta fix this." And they're like, "Oh, we got it. We fixed it." And then people are like trolling them even harder, like 9.5 plus 9.5 plus 9.5 equals 10. Like,
yeah.
And then they just waffled in the very end. They're just like, yeah, we take it all back. And it's just like, we haven't heard anything from them since then.
Mm-hmm. They're just hoping that we forgot.
Definitely not. With podcasts like this, when we're doing end-of-year review, it's like, that's the one.
Remember that time? That gets screwed up?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big one. Those are both on my list. Taco Fractor, I think, was number one because, like John said, we did devote maybe 4 or 5 episodes just kind of centered around Taco Fractor in some way. So I think that's funny enough, the number one news in the hobby. Beckett fiasco was also up there, but that happened earlier, so you kind of forget about it. But I do remember.
I'll never forget. I'll never forget.
You know what's funny? CGC kind of did the same thing, but they got away with it. They're like, you know what? We're just gonna do it, and we're not looking back. I feel like Beckett, if they did that, there's gonna be haters for sure, but just them going back and forth, kind of, they screw themselves that way, right? Like you aren't winning anyone over that doing that. So the only other thing I'll add to it, which is like a distant third for me, is the whole duplicate superfractor fiasco, and then Fanatics having to dish out the whole bounty system. I wonder where that's at now. Like how many of those duplicate superfractors have been redeemed and what they're going to do with those. So that was also big news.
Wait, didn't they find third superfractors?
For a couple of the cards, I think they did.
So we don't know if it's all of the cards. They haven't said anything about that. So it's like an ongoing issue. That's going to be my low light of 2024.
And then the most recent one last week was the most recent release with the stolen superfractors.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
Which was the
another fiasco.
Yes. The one of ones on the back, which were never supposed to be distributed, but someone got their hands on it and posted on eBay.
All at once, like smarty pants. Like, come on.
At least put some under different usernames. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a stolen Panini backdoors too, because that same. I mean, look up the names. Whoever's for the listeners, you'll see it.
Well, you mentioned that too, right? Like the Panini and Topps manufacturers are using the same printers.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was like a conspiracy thing, but I saw who was it? Slab Stocks. They just mentioned it nonchalantly. I was like, oh, I guess it's sort of a industry known thing. It's not so much a
right.
So it's factual.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah. Confirmed. Yeah. All right. Well, how about personal hobby moments? Anything stick out for you in that front?
Well, for this past year, I mean, other than being on the pod and talking about weekly updates, which has been, honestly, that's probably been my most memorable and the most I've been involved in terms of the hobby, because you guys know me, like this past year, I don't think I spent nearly any money on cards. So it's either podcast, going to the expo is probably the highlight for most of us in terms of activity. And then pickup, I'm going to assume most of us, the pickups are going to be sort of PC. I think a lot of folks this year went PC hunting. So for me, definitely it's the Chloe Kim. Exquisite patch auto. My girls are into snowboarding now, and they're kind of getting, nice. We're going next week. But I think when they're a little older and, when the Olympics roll around again, they'll understand who she is. And I think at that point, I'll surprise them with it. And it'll be probably pretty cool for them by then. Hopefully.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, that's an awesome card. It's got so much sentimental value, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. How about you, Will?
I mean, like you guys talked about it throughout this whole year, just how with the hobby kind of in a lull, now's the time to be chasing some PC grails or just like bigger cards. And I actually bought a lot this year.
Nice.
Don't tell my wife. Hopefully she's not behind my shoulder right now. But like PC stuff, like I picked up like a Hyunjin Ryu Topps Chrome Gold out of 50.
Nice.
PSA 10. It's not like the biggest purchase, but I wouldn't have been able to get that in previous years.
Right.
I picked up like a Roy Halladay Bowman Chrome PSA 10 rookie. And that's like pop 158. So there's not a lot of those going around. I got a Sunny Kaboom. And those 3 cards I'll probably keep in my collection forever.
Yeah.
But for me, there's definitely one big highlight. And it goes back to 2022. I was at the Toronto Card Expo with you guys, and I called Johnny over to this one booth at the very end of the exhibition hall, and they just had this raw DeMar DeRozan out of 50 Topps Chrome Gold rookie card. It was just raw, and I had been chasing that card for a while, and I to see it in person, it was so thrilling, and so I offered like all my cards. And cash. I was like, pick any cards you want out of my boxes, and I'll pay the rest in cash. But ultimately, the guy just wanted cash. He didn't like any of the cards that I had, which was like, I was offended. I was like, I don't have garbage cards. Like,
Right.
Don't just dismiss my cards. But he wanted cash, and then he wanted more than I was willing to spend, and it wasn't a lot more. But I think my ego was so bruised. Like, I didn't want to lose on the deal, right? You know, you just get a bad feeling. You're just like, you don't feel like good. Like, you're just getting crushed.
Right.
And then after the show ended, I was devastated. I remember talking to John, like, for a few days. Just like, what did I do? Like, I should find that guy's name and like find his Instagram and just message. He's like down in the state. He was like a US vendor. I'm like, I can reach out to him on IG. Maybe he still has it. I'm like devastated. And then November of this year. So I mean, last month, November 9 is my birthday, and I turned 40 this year. So it was a pretty significant year. But with two young kids, you don't really spend any time or energy devoted to like celebrating yourself, because you have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old that's pooping himself everywhere, so it's like, you're just dealing with that. But the first week, there was this auction, the PWCC's weekly auction, and what comes out, it's the Topps Chrome Gold out of 50 DeMar DeRozan, but in PSA 10.
Ooh.
And in a PSA 10, there's exactly one copy in the world.
Yeah.
And so when I saw it, I messaged John. I think I messaged you too, Clark. I can't remember. I was so excited. It was like Otani coming to Toronto on an airplane level of excitement. And like previously, like in April of 2022, that card sold for $12,600 on Golden. Yeah. So I told John, I'm like, I'm just going to watch this and enjoy it vicariously, because it's gonna sell for like $9,000. Like, $9,000 US. I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
And we're watching the auction, and like it's Sunday night, and it's like really low, and I'm like, John, I'm just gonna throw in a bid. And he's just sending me that emoji of like the eyes, like the really big eyes, just staring off, like staring at you. And then I put in a bid, and then it extended the bidding to the next round, and I'm like. My hands are sweating. I'm like, John, I actually sent a bid.
I was so nervous. That's the most nervous I've been in a long time.
Yeah, and then so I just had it. Like, I had a max bid. I'm like, well, I'm gonna go to this number. I'm not going over. And I went into the extended bidding, and it, like, for PWCC auctions, you see it. It says like 30 minutes left,
right?
Or like bid required to extend the bidding, and it's in red font. And then when somebody extends the bid, it goes into green and it goes to the next level and whatever. So I'm just watching it count down, and it's like 5 minutes left, 2 minutes left, and I'm like, oh my god. I stopped talking to John. I just like went radio silent.
I was talking to Will, like chatting to them, and just no response.
Just disappeared.
I think I wrote like 5 paragraphs, no response.
And then the auction ends, and then John's like, I see John's messages of like, oh man, it's sold, and da 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 da. Like, I think he's just like watching it vicariously with me, and he's assuming like we just watched the auction end for like a cheaper price than we probably expected it to.
Right.
And I screen cap my phone like with me with the winning bid. That's all I sent back to John.
Yeah.
And so like that is definitely a highlight. It's put me way in the red in all this hobby collections, way beyond where I should be. I'm just gonna try really hard in 2024 not to get divorced. So, but I mean that card, like, you know, I'm a huge DeRozan fan, and every episode of this podcast when I come on, you know, I make it known because I want people to know that man is special. And now I've got one of his best cards.
Amazing.
I take back my personal memorable moment. That watching Will pick that up, that was 100% my highlight. Like he was my
cool.
hands were sweating. Like I was completely living vicariously through him. It was like bringing me back to the 2021 days when we used to bid on eBay auctions.
Right.
It had been so long that I got all those feelings back from Will. It was great.
Yeah.
I was
So
so
that
thrilled.
one, that definitely I'll remember this year for that, because that was like, in a way, it was like my 40th birthday gift to myself. So
Right.
That's amazing. You know what? I knew you picked it up, but I didn't know the backstory behind it until now. So that's
it's pretty crazy.
You don't have it
cool.
in hand yet, right?
No, it's just in my vault at PWCC. I'll probably get it the next time they're at the show, at the
April?
Toronto show, because they bring it over for you.
Right.
So what's that, April? So
Yeah.
I'll probably have my hands on it in April.
ooh.
Sweet.
I want to take a look. That would be cool. All right. Yeah. Will, the DeMar DeRozan super fan, if any of our listeners can make his wish come true to meet DeMar in person,
Oh my god,
that'd be fantastic. Let's make the call out right now and make it happen in 2024. My highlight, I was just listening to some of the past clips of 2023 starting in January, and our very first episode in January was just, I guess, John, you're away because it was just myself and Hyung, and we're just making predictions, or we're just talking about like what we hope to, achieve in the hobby for 2023. And one thing I did mention was kind of what you already said, or Will, about grail hunting, right? And I said, Mike Trout, Bowman Chrome would be nice. I think, if it comes down enough, I'll pull the trigger. And I did that in May. If you guys are loyal listeners, I mentioned that I got myself a Mike Trout first Bowman Chrome base auto, BGS 9, which is cool, other than the fact that it's dropped to another $2,000 since I bought it. So it's like, but I have it. It's one of those cards I'll probably keep for a while, and unless I want to upgrade it somehow. And then the other one I mentioned in January was the Luka Doncic as well, and you guys know I picked up that card fairly recently as well. So the blue
That's sweet.
Contenders optic.
successful year. Very
Successful year. Yep. So I got my 2 Grail cards. I'm hoping if the market continues to do what it's doing now, at least for the first part of 2024, I'll be back in Grail hunting again. Maybe a Steph Curry. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. That might be for maybe for the next episode, the first one, where we kind of talk about our goals for 2024. Maybe that's one of them. So we'll see. Yeah. So that's kind of picking up those cards. Pretty cool. I definitely went into red as well, but I'm like, this is investment. Okay. I will regret it if I don't get it right now. And things start to go back up in 2024. So there you go. All right. So, well, that wraps up season 3 of Cards to the Moon. As always, we want to thank all of our listeners. And I also want to thank all of our guests that have come on the show over the past year. At the beginning of 2023, we mentioned that one of our goals was to do more interviews with fellow collectors, investors, influencers in the hobby. And we definitely reached that goal this year. So just quickly, here's who came on the show this past year. And it's kind of crazy when I kind of listed everything out. So a quick shout out to William Chong, owner of Dolly's. He came back on this year. Matt Novogratz, co-founder of Candy Digital. Chris Begg, former WBC pitcher, friend of the podcast, and a host of the Apo Taco podcast, which we help produce. Denny, of course, who we became friends with this year, and the host of the Card Diary podcast, which he started this year as well. Brent Ware, aka Deep Value Investor on Instagram. Daryl DC Chan, good friend of ours and high-end collector. We see him all the time at the Sports Card Expo. Brian Dennison, aka Cajun Cardboard, our go-to basketball card / MJ guru. Greg Poole of Can's Can Ministries, doing great charitable things in the neighborhood through the hobby. Jeremy Lee of Sports Cards Live, a fellow Canadian and friend of the pod. Mark Hill, founder of My Card Post. It's an amazing platform he built. You should definitely check it out. Shane Norton, aka Sports Card Nobody, who we learned a lot about wrestling cards from, if you guys remember. Samuel C. Evans, who consistently creates positive hobby content. Rob Gerard, aka the Sports Card Therapist, who I'm sure he's dealing with a lot of stuff now, so we hope he can sort things out, and we wish him the best. Iowa Dave, a big time supporter of our pod. Always appreciate him and what he does for the hobby. Mac Gamble, hilarious follow if you're not aware of his hobby content. You should definitely check him out. Daps was really gracious with his time talking about his growing hobby business. And Raymond Lee, co-founder of Veriswap, another cool platform you should check out. And last but not least, our buddy Roy, who taught us a few things about Pokemon cards just a few weeks ago. So that's an incredible list of guests. And again, a lot.
Great job, guys. I've enjoyed this year just listening to podcasts.
Yeah, no, and we appreciate everyone that's been on the show. Will, you of course as well, always filling in when we need a fourth co-host. John and Hyung, my regular co-hosts, and yeah, we look forward to 2024 where we plan to. After reading that list, I'm like, oh shoot, how are we gonna beat that? You know, we I didn't realize we interviewed that many throughout the year, but we'll definitely try. You know, it's always cool to make new hobby friends. Starting from the pod, you know, and then we always end up DMing each other through Instagram or through different social media just to see what they're up to, and it's been kind of cool to get to know them beyond the pod as well. So hope we can reconnect with some of these guys in 2024 as well as have even more guests this new year. Okay, and to all our listeners, we wish you all a happy new year, and we'll still see you next Tuesday for a brand new show. See you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.